One word, Iman, the definition of beauty, class, and style. This Somali native initially took the fashion industry by storm as one of the original supermodels, and then the world as a global humanitarian and successful entrepreneur, a wife and mother as well. Iman, on this episode of Leading Women.
Iman is breathtaking. Iman is amazing. Iman is strength.
She's beautiful, and she's regal, and she's incredibly philanthropic.
I would call her a gorgeous global humanitarian.
Iman is warm. Iman is loyal. Iman is dazzlingly glamorous.
Eloquent, brilliant, extremely beautiful.
To describe Iman in 5 words is very easy. There is only one Iman.
When I decided to become a model, I didn't tell my parents. I actually left Kenya. I was going to majoring in political science in Nairobi University. I had to pay for my tuition. So I was working part-time for the Ministry of Tourism of Kenya. I speak 5 languages. So I was translating their brochures. And so one day on my way to the campus, a photographer by the name Peter Beard stopped me in the street and asked me if I have ever been photographed before. And I was insulted because I thought, oh, here goes a white man thinking an African have never seen a camera before. And I said, of course I have been photographed, as I walked, and he followed me. And he said, by whom? And I said, my parents. And he said, no, I mean professionally in a magazine. And all I could think of was the magazines that my brothers always had, like Playboy. And I said, I'm not that kind of a girl. And he said, no, I mean fashion magazines. I wasn't really falling for it. And then he said, I'll pay you. And that was a new concept to me. And I said, you will pay me to take pictures? And he said, yes. And he said, well, how much would you want? And I asked for a year's tuition, which was $8,000. And he said, you got it. And that was my first business transaction as a model. So he took the pictures, he left Kenya, came to New York. He had a gallery exhibition of his photographs. And Wilhelmina, who owned the agency, Wilhelmina Models, saw the pictures and asked about me. And the next thing I knew, they called me and they wanted me to come to America as a model. The only thing I asked for was a return ticket, so I would not be stuck here if I didn't like it. My parents were beyond furious. I just turned 18 and left the country without them knowing about it. And that's how I left in October 1975 to come to America. Literally on my 3rd day in New York, my first job was American Vogue. And the makeup artist asked me if I brought my own foundation. I had no idea what he was talking about since I've never worn makeup in my life also. So I said no, and he proceeded to mix and match some products and put it on my face. And then and there, I saw that my whole skin tone was totally altered. I looked kind of grayish, reddish. And the fruit of understanding what it means to have your own identity altered was evident to me on that first day. There was one picture that was in color that it wasn't right. To me, it didn't look right. And from that day, the second that picture came out, is my embargo on going to find products that were suitable for my skin. It was evident to me that how the Caucasian model was being treated in a way that everything that she actually her face needed was available, and that what I needed was not available. I had to learn everything I need to know if I'm going to stay in this business or even make it in this business, that I have to be my own brand. I have to take care of myself. For photography, it is a very powerful tool. and the images, how it's portrayed, is what the public at large will understand.
Think about how hard it must be to be a model just starting out in one of your first shoots with a magazine like Vogue, and to have the willingness to say, this is not the right makeup for me. I want and I deserve a better look. I mean, that takes an incredible amount of chutzpah, and it's something that most models just starting out would not be up for. And it's so classic Iman. I've always loved that story about her.
Coming from Africa and a whole different world there, I think, you know, all of a sudden you're in the Paris couture and being shot by every big photographer in the world. It must have been a big culture shock in general.
I understood one thing: my image is my currency. And if it doesn't look right, I'll definitely not be called upon later. And if they don't know how to make it look right, I should know how to make it look right for them.
There was this exoticism and this sort of idea of someone from this far-off land that nobody understood coming to America and conquering the fashion world.
We know that Iman came over here with a big myth that she was found in a jungle somewhere, and we know that's not to be true, and she owns up to it. And I think it was a fun thing to introduce her, but we know that Iman is educated, and she's from a very prominent, educated family.
There were stories that were written that I was discovered in the jungle, and I didn't speak a word of English. So a lot of people in the industry actually believed that I didn't speak English. And sometimes I wouldn't say anything just to see what people would say in front of me. I went to see Stephen Burrows, and he wanted to hire me to do one of his shows. And he gave me, I walked in and there were a couple of black models, and they were like, well, she doesn't look as tall as they said she is, because everybody thought I was like 6'6" or something.
She was very nervous. She trembled all the time. And there was two showroom girls that we kept for our purposes that just resented her so much.
I was kind of scared because I wasn't used to wearing heels. Mind you, I've been here now a week in America, in New York. And so they gave me a dress and heels. And so I put on the dress, and I was having a hard time putting on the shoes. And Beth Fan got on her knees to help me put the shoes on.
And I sought to fix the shoe, and one of our showroom girls said, why is she getting on her knees for her? She ain't no queen. I looked up at Iman, and she was just touched. Everything was trembling.
And Beth Ann didn't pay any attention to them. She looked up at me and she said, you know exactly what they're saying. You speak English, don't you? And I said, yes.
Where Iman didn't fit easily is that as a community, the community didn't accept Iman so readily, because American editors and magazine people who were of color felt like, what are you doing? We have black girls right here. So they resisted her and felt that something was being posed upon them by some white image maker.
She could have met some obstacles there. But I think, on the other hand, that we were so hungry to see images of ourselves. We were desperately ready, if you will. The country might have been uncertain, but nevertheless, it worked. It all worked in her favor, and it certainly served ours.
The fact that she could be on Vogue, which at the time, and probably still now, equals fashion, as her first job meant our beauty is global beauty. For those of us who were models of color, Iman was really the first, you know, along with maybe Beverly Johnson, was the first non-white face that we saw on magazine covers, in editorials, and I just thought she was exquisite looking.
Every black woman, girl, teenager in America grew up idolizing Iman.
When I started, there was one black model, and I wouldn't say a black model because she was an icon, Beverly Johnson. Immediately upon my arrival, they created this hostility between us. I was not aware of it because I was not aware of the whole business of modeling, so I was not aware what was going on. But it sure came upon to my attention. And the theory being that we don't need two black models.
It always seems that there are people who are image makers who stand behind the scenes and decide, oh, she's better than this one. And they start deciding that they start picking sides. Two girls of color never can be reigning at the same time. It always has been that way. If it was Beverly and Iman, then it was Naomi and Tyra. It's always that sort of like when a girl supersedes the other.
I'm up to compete with Beverly Johnson, but also I'm up to compete with all the Caucasian models also for that job. It's not just because she's black. That is not. It's that I want that job that the Caucasian model also is getting.
Iman, as well as all the other girls like Naomi or Beverly Johnson, have to work triple, quadruple the schedules.
She knows her worth, she demands her worth. You know, they say that no one can make you feel inferior without your consent, and Iman never has given her consent.
The Black Girls Coalition was a little idea I had to celebrate the black fashion model because there were so many working at the time. I did it sort of so they can come together, so they can celebrate this moment with me and I could celebrate them. But at the same time, teach them about how powerful they were and then let women, young women, see how they can work together and change things.
When I started becoming a little bit well known, I started only hiring and pushing for black hairdressers and black makeup artists because they surely would know how to make me look right. And in that way, I could bring a new force with me, they can work, and I can always look good.
Iman to this day is one of the most active proponents of the view that fashion designers and photographers and stylists and editors must create diverse collections. They must hire diverse casts of models. She's not the kind of person who forges her own success and then goes off into retirement. Not at all. Her whole career now is about making sure that other models have the same opportunities that she was able to create for herself.
The industry has changed for a while, but then it regresses. I mean, at one point there was Naomi Campbell, Tara Banks, Alec Weck working at the same time. I wrote a book called I Am Iman, based on an autobiography of my working life. And I have asked Annie Leibovitz to photograph for me top black models together. I wanted something that will, one day our daughters will say, wow, look at them all together in their glory. And so she did it for me. And I had 15 black models. The first time we've ever been photographed together. From Naomi Campbell, Beverly Johnson, Tyra, Alec, you name it, they were all there. So yeah, it was a moving moment.
I don't know if there's anybody but Iman who could have brought that many top models together for a shoot. And it just captures what's so wonderful about her because she is very forcefully her own person, but she also is always passionately thinking about the good of the community.
She came in a very interesting time too, when things were happening in New York, and it was a great time. So she came in part of the fold, and she just added to a layer of, I guess, just genius.
I just think of her as this excellent person. You know what I mean? So that's why she's a trailblazer, you know? Because she's just an excellent woman, and excellent people, you know, kind of blaze trails without even trying or knowing.
She was one of the first black supermodels that proved that a black face, a black woman could sell a product, you know? And I think she gave a lot of hope to a lot of other black women.
Fashion is something I know very well about. I've been muse to a lot of designers. I have worked with designers from scratch. I didn't work for them, but I was a muse for them, so I've seen them do it from scratch. I have been a muse to diverse designers, from Azzedine Alaïa, Terry Mugler, obviously Yves Saint Laurent, Valentino, Calvin Klein, Oscar de la Renta, Bill Blass, Mary McFadden. My favorite was Yves Saint Laurent. He created a couture collection around me that was called the African Princess, and everything was cut from fabric on me. And it's one hell of an experience to see how they do things like that.
She recently shared with me how she went to Paris once and Mrs. Saint Laurent created a whole collection where she stood for hours in his atelier and she was fitted for the collection and then she wore the collection on the runway. Now that is very rare. I mean, of course, Mr. Saint Laurent embraced all women of all color, but he particularly embraced women of color like Iman.
I think Iman is most known for, as Yves Saint Laurent put it, being the ideal woman.
She had that, that regalness, that elegance, that sense of humor. She was an asset of beauty. People were always mesmerized by her look.
I was dreaming of having the fabulous Iman in my show, but I would never dream of asking, the queen of the world to do my fashion show. I got a call, like, why didn't you ask me to do your fashion show? I was like, oh my God, you're kidding. Like, she was like upset that I didn't ask her to do my first fashion show. So it was like this great, incredible moment where it was like, wow, she's human. She's actually human.
When I think about the term model, it is almost like a muse. And whether it's a fashion designer or a makeup artist or what have you, an ad campaign, whatever it is, it has the ability to have its way with you. With Iman, it's just the reverse. She has the ability to imprint, to have her way with whatever it is.
Iman always brings with her this presence, and it's there in every picture with every photographer.
When you would go to shoot Iman, certainly starting from the beginning, there wasn't anything that she really needed to do other than just be present. She commanded your attention, she made you stand still, she took your breath away.
That sense of self, that sense of presence and of power that comes through her from the inside out is what makes her a superstar.
When she's in front of the camera, she knows her body and her look so well that it just makes my job easier. She's just physically an incredible person.
My favorite thing about Iman is her eyes. And she expresses enough in her eyes so that you are like kind of intrigued. There's a mystery though that she keeps.
Her beauty is so unworldly and so incredible.
Iman's physicality comes from her inner sense of control and will. But I also think it comes from her projection of her persona.
She made it to where the beauty spoke more than her color. She's just a beautiful entity, you know what I'm saying? So I think she broke a lot of color barriers.
When you look like her, that kind of look, you get better looking with time. You go from young beauty to an elegance would be the word that I would use. That's the Katharine Hepburn kind of look.
Whatever she drinks, I need a cup of that because she doesn't age. She's flawless.
I think the key to Iman's success is not even her beauty. I think it's her sense of humor and her availability. Like she'll do anything, Iman. If she believes in it, she'll do anything.
She's still photographed around the world. She's still a fashion icon. Designers still flock to her side to wear their clothing. She still will walk the runway, very so rarely. She still can grace the cover of a magazine, and she still can light up a room at a charity event. And that's a tribute to her human spirit and her incredible inner strength and beauty.
I was born in Mogadishu, which is the capital city of Somalia. My parents were very poor, but none of us children knew anything or were aware of that we were poor. I have two brothers and two sisters, and my older brother, I just worshipped the ground he walked on. But my younger brother is another case. He was mom's pet. My mom was a nurse, and she was going to school to become a gynecologist. My father was very interested in politics, but he was started as an Arabic teacher. They were young and they were passionate and they were political, and my mom was not like an average African Muslim woman, and she was always on the go, very beautiful but very fiery. So I've always idolized her, but she was bigger than life. My parents were very involved in the political situation in Somalia. When I was born, Somalia didn't have independence yet. I was born in 1955 and Somalia got independence in 1960. There was always these political discussions, debates, people going to rallies, meetings at the house. I would say the singular thing that I've learned in my childhood from my parents and that have shaped my life is that my father always treated me that the sky is the limit for me as a girl. A lot of girls were not sent to school in my country. My father always believed in education for girls. He believed that I could do anything, if not better, than the boys. And I've always felt I was my father's daughter. I got involved in politics and loved and majored in political science because my father was in politics. I've adored him, and I've loved about the combination of being such a man and being such a softie and gentle and just idolized him. And he shaped my life. I'm very close to both my parents now, and they're both still alive. My father is in his late 70s, and he looks like he's 40. And I'm the only one who looks like my father. The rest of the siblings, they look like my mom. So I'm still my father's daughter. I always say I'm not married to David Bowie, I'm married to David Jones. Hence makes me Mrs. Jones. We were set up. It came out well. We've been married 16 years, celebrating this year. It was a blind date. I didn't know he was going to be there. He didn't know I was going to be there. We both thought we were going to a big party, but it was a dinner for 4. And so he says to him it was instant. It took me a while, but it's the best thing that had happened to me. He's very funny. Everybody thinks of him, he's so serious. I said, I don't know, they think you're talking about the same guy. He's very funny, English funny. A week after we met, I told him that I was coming on so-and-so day, so-and-so flight, and he said, I'll pick you up. So I thought, he's a security guy or somebody will come and pick me up. No, the doors open of the plane, and I see a crowd of people taking picture of someone. And it was David with flowers in his hands, is standing there. I said, if he'll go through all that, he's a keeper. He still buys me flowers on the 14th of every month because we met on the 14th. That's how romantic he is.
I was lucky enough to be asked to her wedding in Florence. It was a marvelous, marvelous event. It was a weekend, and it was very beautiful. Iman had the most gorgeous gown, and she just had her family there, and David had his family. It was a family affair.
They're very lucky, I think, that they complement each other. From what I can see, they've got a great marriage, and both are very proud, from what I can see, of the other's success.
She got to marry a rock star, you know what I'm saying? But again, she calmed them all the way down. You don't hear nothing about David Bowie and Iman having any arguments, fighting, nothing, They just evolved the way you should, in a classy way.
As a wife, she's very, very, very dedicated to someone who she always said to me, you know how when someone says, fall back, just fall back, and you never would fall back? She said, if David says, fall back, I just fall back. That's trusting someone. And that's not easy for someone like Iman to do, to trust. And she truly trusts him because he's a great soul for her.
Family, husband and children is first, career is second. Definitely. There is no juggling act. You can't juggle. We as women, we love to want to juggle, but it's not. It's got to be a priority of things, and let's hope that we don't forget ourselves in the middle of all of it. I have 2 daughters. My oldest, Zuleika, is now 29, and the little one is 7. I was in my 20s when I had my first. And thank God she came out beautifully. And such a lady and such a put-together girl. And I had my 7-year-old when I was 45, and she still asks me every day, I want a brother or sister. I said, honey, it's really too late. I'll get you a dog. I got her a dog. When it comes to my daughters, I'm quite open as long as they finish school. That's very important. So, but whatever their choices are, I'll be there to support them.
As a family woman, I think people would probably not know that Iman is a great mother and caring. And as I said, she's been very, very, very wonderful about keeping her child with David out of the limelight.
She's so dedicated to her family. What I love about her is that no matter how busy she is, just like she pencils everything else in on her schedule, she pencils that time away with family.
And something that most people don't know about me, I'm an excellent homemaker. So I cook almost every night. I cook dinner at home because it's so easy in New York just to get into the habit of ordering. And so there's no family life at all.
I love the fact that this woman that we all know who looks flawless every single time you see her makes it home in time from her office to cook dinner herself for her family.
I hope for my daughters that the world that they will see is void of AIDS and definitely void of religious warfare. Being a Muslim, that's really at the forefront for me, that I see that our whole world is being divided now through religion. Iman Cosmetics is probably what I think probably will be my legacy that I will be remembered for. The fruit of it was put on that earth on my first job for Vogue. So I have Vogue to thank for, and their lousy makeup artist who didn't have a foundation for a woman with skin of color. And I have been mixing and matching products since 1976.
She really knows how to put accessories together with clothes and hair and makeup.
Foundations are like the holy grail for women with skin of color because it's really difficult for us to find the right color for us. When I was thinking of stopping modeling in 1989, I thought maybe I should think about and research this area. It came to me that I really wanted to create something beyond ethnicities and about skin tone. And I wanted to create a brand that really is set in the future, but created for now. The neighborhoods have changed and the whole country is changing, and I wanted to be part of that change and create something for that new generation of people who are coming up. And so the philosophy of IMAN Cosmetics was built upon and the creation of even singularly creating it and calling it women with skin of color rather than women of color, because women of color is basically really a black woman. Women with skin of color, it could be from anywhere else as long as you have color in your skin. All I kept on hearing from women was, thank you, thank you, thank you. Finally, I have a foundation that matches my skin tone. We're not red, we're not yellow. We might have undertones that are different, but it's matching the skin tone.
I knew from my own experience as a model that Iman must be really great with makeup, because when you're a dark-skinned girl, you learn how to do your own makeup very quickly in this business, because you know, not everyone knows how to work with our skin.
She lent her name and her business savvy and her credibility to say that women of all colors deserve a cosmetic line for them.
Iman wisely, being the intelligent girl she was, developed a business that she felt that she could own and be responsible to by the image of what it was.
Everything that has Iman's name on it has her vision attached to it. Her soul is in those products. So whether it's makeup or her new handbag line for HSN or whatever else is coming from Iman, you can feel the soul of the woman in that product. You feel as though it was, hand selected just for you.
It's the best that you can be with the right products that is created for you.
I think Iman Cosmetics was a brilliant idea, very successful, and certainly many cosmetic companies have tried to make products that cater to women of color, some with more success than others. And I think Iman knew that she had credibility in that area, that people were going to believe that when she said these products will work for your skin, she was telling the truth because she'd been there.
It is a credit to Iman that she has staying power over all of these years, and she keeps reinventing herself business-wise so that she can stay strong. And I think it's because she has a really good sense of what she cares about and how it connects to the consumer.
She'll be known for her contribution to advancing a multicultural, multi-ethnic perception of what beauty is about. She did so in creating her line and creating products for women of all skin colors and all ethnicities and all different types of beauty.
I've made sure that I have never, ever will be forced to fold because I don't overgrow too fast. I am not into the hype. I'm into staying the distance. I want to reach that goal, stay the distance. I want to be one of those brands that they've said they've survived. They're one of the best brands. I want to be back part of that history. Being an African, and especially a Muslim, I was raised believing life of service. It's very important. And so it was instilled in me from early on that I have to do some kind of a charity to have a balance in my life. I was raised with the understanding that to whom much is given, much is required of. And so I've always had this passion, especially for anything that touches the children.
She cares very much about children. She cares very much about her continent. She's done some very courageous things in the past. And I think that it's something that's automatic for her to do. There's no way she could turn her back to it.
One morning I was watching the Today Show. It was years ago. And I saw this woman, Marion Wright Edelman. And she was like a Pied Piper. I followed her. I called the NBC studios, and that was really my first involvement in a big charity for children, and was with the Children Defense Fund. Now I'm the global ambassador for Keep a Child Alive, which is an organization that provides ARV drugs for children and families who are affected with AIDS in Africa. For the first time in our history of our continent, we have orphans. It's not a concept that is African at all, because there's always an aunt or somebody who takes over, and it touched my heart tremendously.
I think the fact that Iman has had a life surrounded by things of beauty and yet has gone back to confront these really ugly truths in her home continent is very powerful. It's the kind of thing that makes people pay attention.
She's the one who got me involved with Keep a Child Alive. And I am a co-ambassador along with Alicia Keys and Jessica Alba. And, you know, I think the president of Keep a Child Alive wanted to meet me. And so Iman arranged a lunch for the three of us to meet and talk about it. They were interested in starting in India what they've been able to do so successfully in Africa with the AIDS pandemic.
As the global ambassador for Keep a Child Alive, I took it upon myself that I wanted to create a campaign that is pertinent, relevant, that gets to the matter, to the heart of the matter quite fast. And so I wanted to bring something that will be arresting, at least visually, for people. So I have asked some celebrities to pose in these black and white portraits with African, singularly one line of an African makeup.
Well, she came to me with the concept of I am African, you know, based on all of humanity started in Africa. And then she said it'd be great to have, you know, original, you know, makeup based on different tribes in Africa. And then she came to me with a big book of traditional African makeup. And then we kind of went from there. We kind of took liberties and kind of took a little bit from one tribe and maybe, you know, changed it a little bit. And we let the celebrities, you know, choose what look they liked, and then we just kind of went from there.
It was just this beautiful campaign, and that was sort of when I first started getting involved with KCA. I would see these lovely ads everywhere.
The campaign was so beautifully shot. She was so beautiful in it, and it did. When you flipped through magazines and you saw Iman and the other women who were shot for it, it made you stop, and it made you want to find out more information, and that's what it's about. When you lend your face to a campaign like that, you want people to stop, you want them to read, you want them to research, and then you want them to go to action.
The extent to which Iman cares about and is active in Keep a Child Alive is pretty unique. The extent to which she was willing to put herself on the line for this organization and for these children and for that continent, I think is really unique.
I think a lot of people say that they spend their time. She actually does. A lot of people say, I care. She actually cares. She gives her money, she gives her personality and glamour, and you look at it, she really understands who she's helping.
I think it was very important for her as an African woman to do something for her continent, and she is a great representative.
The whole idea of doing work for Keep a Child Alive was singularly brought to me by one woman. A woman who had a child that was affected with AIDS, and she came to a hospital, and they couldn't give her the ARV drugs that she needed for her child. And she wouldn't leave the hospital till she gets it. And she was there for like 4 or 5 days. And at the end of it, she said singularly to us, is that what I want is what the rest of the world have for their children. That's all I want. Get me those drugs that the rest of the world have for their children. If I have anything to say to young people, first of all, I hate the word role models because it always scares me, because I'm human and I will err, and I don't want to be taking the whole black race down with me. So I'm singularly myself. But if I would help somebody and give them an advice, is that they really have to pay their dues. Nobody has become successful and overnight success by not paying their dues, and have really worked and stayed on the course of whatever their passion is that they want to do.
She's a role model in terms of how to have a great life, how to be successful, but also help others.
She can show you that you can have a family, a husband, and a career, still be glamorous, and still be very private.
She has a company, a huge business, right? She's a philanthropist. I mean, she has it all. So anyone who tells any woman that she can't have it all, just see Iman, okay? Call her.
She's a really strong, determined person. She really is. She fears to fail. And because of it, she will always excel.
She's iconic. Before we knew what iconic was, there was just Iman to define that.
She is an icon. She's someone that is part of our history. She's someone that will not go, the image of her and her contribution will not go away because she's part of the fabric of our time.
I think she's an icon because she's done a lot with her life, not because of the modeling. I think there are a lot of gorgeous women, there are a lot of gorgeous models. There aren't that many human beings who are really substantive, who tried to change the world.
I don't remember life without her or her presence in this world.
I think Iman has evolved more over time as a woman than as a model. And I think that's part of what keeps us watching, which is why today she could have as equally successful a modeling career as she had when she first came to these shores.
Her legacy will be twofold. From a beauty perspective, she is beyond race. She is the longest surviving supermodel in the last 30 years.
I think Iman has huge staying power in the fashion industry because of course she's not just the most beautiful model, but she's also a great mogul too.
She just has such inner confidence about who she is that it makes it so easy for her to walk into a room and just, she can take your breath away with the way she looks.
Even by itself, to be known as just Iman. How many famous women are there out there that can go through life just with a name?
She probably best be remembered as one of the most beautiful women that walked the face of this earth.
And it's something that makes you shiver when you realize that this woman who came from across the world helped to remind us that we're beautiful. And that she continues to remind us is powerful.
As women, we all have a responsibility to ask the world to take us seriously. And that's the message that Iman gives young women, and I think it's one they really need to hear.
I think Iman is extremely successful, but I think that Iman doesn't think about that. Iman just knows what's at her feet to do.
Iman is always trying to conquer the next mountain, and she's so feisty and so tenacious that she will.
I see her continuing to raise her beautiful children. I see her continuing to be a wife. I see her cosmetics company becoming even more successful than it already is, and I certainly see her continuing her humanitarian efforts.
I try to stay authentic because I still see Africa in my dreams, see exactly where I came from, and at times I can see where I'm going. I'm one of those people who always, this is my motto in life. In a world full of trends, I like to stay a classic, simplify everything and stay on course. What I love about my life is that at the age of 53, I care less about anything. Seen it, done it, been there. There is a comfort zone now, I know who I am.